EP Magazine presents Layla Tamimi and her uplifting story, from suffering a debilitating paralysis and stroke to graduating this past January with honors from Montclair State University. In addition, we focus on vision, hearing, speech, and how these impact the development and education of people with special needs. Read it today at www.epmagazine.com.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
Suicide is preventable, and each of us has a role to play in suicide prevention.
Suicide is complex. There is no single cause.
And it's not always a mental health issue. It could be loss of a job or home, financial or relationship issues, pain, or leaving the military.
Suicide does not discriminate. It affects all ages, races, and genders, veterans or not.
If you know a veteran who is struggling, connect with them. Let them know help is available.
There is quick and easy access to services in times of crisis.
Dial 988, then press 1. Talking about it is okay.
Don't keep it inside. Don't be ashamed. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Welcome to Oscar Mike Radio. This is a special edition. That's right, special edition. We're counting down to 400 when you watch this one. This is a bonus. It's a bonus show. I want to thank Don and Anna for hooking me up with this special event about Patriot Fest. Patriot Fest is going to be in Aurora, Illinois, May 18th, and I've got one of the artists supporting the show on Oscar Mike Radio, sporting the cool Iron Maiden shirt from North Carolina, Brandon Hart. Welcome to Oscar Mike. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good to be here. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. It's great to talk with you. Again, I appreciate Anna and Don making this happen, and really interested in Patriot Fest. Like, I hadn't heard of it before. I got a really cool lineup, and you're part of it. Before we get into all that good stuff, you know, you have a really cool background and musical, journey. How did you get into music, man?
Man, ever since I can remember, I've always kind of had a knack for music. And when I was about 6, 7 years old, I picked up a guitar with 2 strings on it, started playing on it, and noticed I could actually, carry a tune. And my parents were like, wow. So my older brother bought me my first guitar at the time. I think by then I was about 10, 11. And it was kind of I found my way. It was like a walk in the dark. It was, I started out, by ear, learning how to play. And I listened to everything from Elvis to, Jerry Lee Lewis, Waylon, George. But by the time I got 15, 16, it really started to kick in that I, figured music was what I really wanted to do. And so that's kind of how it started, man. I started writing songs, going to parties, sitting on the tailgate, playing for my friends, and that evolved, long story, into this, so.
Well, what part of the music process do you like? I talked to some artists, and some of them like the songwriting, right? They like sitting down by themselves or with like their core group of people and writing songs. Some people like the actual technical part of making the album, putting the music together, mastering it, getting the tracks just right. And some people don't care anything about that. They just want to practice. And then others just love being in front of the audience. Is there anything that you prefer over the other?
Um, I enjoy the songwriting process. I'm a really spiritual person, and being rooted in church and gospel music and stuff like that, I really like being able to touch the soul with music. And so I enjoy mostly all the whole process. But I think my favorite is songwriting, really cultivating something to capture you lyrically and melodically, and I engineer and produce as well. So I say I like it all. I mean, I could sit there for hours at a board and mix, and I play all my instruments and stuff. I've worked with a bunch of people in Nashville, and kind of we all somewhat do our own stuff. So that process to me, as well as it's just so much fun. It's amazing to watch something like an instrument turn into multi instruments, and that turn into a song. And it's really a blessing to be able to do it. It's a gift for sure.
Well, hey, Brendan, I'm curious because I grew up in the church. Which do you like hymns?
I do. I do.
What's your favorite hymn?
Oh, I think probably "How Great Thou Art."
Get out.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome
Oh,
wonder
yeah.
consider all, right? There's
Yep.
something about that, man. Then sings my soul,
My Savior
Savior,
God,
to
to
thee.
thee.
Right. There's
Yeah.
nothing like that one, man. They don't make them like that anymore.
No, I definitely don't. I
Look,
definitely.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself
You're good. You're good. I love it.
because it really was. I think it's that one. I like Onward Christian Shoulders,
Yep.
Soldiers, excuse me. I like the hymns, man. Amazing Grace is my all-time favorite, but How Great Thou Art hits me right
Yeah,
there.
that's when I heard. I think it was Elvis sing that. I was just like, wow.
Is Elvis really the king to you? He's still, without him, we wouldn't be where we are now. And he did get his start in the church.
Yeah, it's he definitely he put a change, and a lot of people at the time had somewhat of a negative view on him taking what was in the church, and putting it on the streets and putting in secular music. But honestly, that I think that's what brought a lot of ears to the gospel sound, and a lot of people were more rock and roll, and kind of stuck that way. And for me, that opened up a well of being able to add the light into a dark place, which is adding that gospel sound into what was rock and roll. So I think honestly he was definitely a pioneer. Him and Jerry Lee Lewis. I know a lot of people don't love Jerry Lee to death, but I think it
I
was
don't
probably
know.
the top on my for that time. He was the guy for sure.
Well, I just remember taking piano lessons and down the south, that's where we moved from Illinois to Louisiana, and a lot of church pianists were modeled after Jerry Lee Lewis because it's you got to be able to ad lib and improvise while the service is going on, and so that's what they
Yes, sir.
did. And he was technically good, but also could put on a show. I mean, it was entertaining. So, in Oscar Mike Radio, I'm primarily a military veterans podcast show, and that's okay. And I've talked to a lot of artists, a lot of them from Anna and Don and other places, and I
Oh
asked
yeah.
them a question. No one gets excluded. I asked them this question, and you're not going to get any special treatment here, Brandon.
Love it.
Every now and then you hear about like Kiss just did this, where they sold their catalog for a crazy amount of money. I mean, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money just to give away everything you've worked for. So I flipped the script on several artists. I said, Brandon, what would happen if I had a check for like 300 million right now, and I'll give you the check right now, and I own everything you do, but there's also another condition. This is why I ask all the artists. I'll give you the check. You can cash it and it'll clear, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can never perform in public again. Would you take the money?
I don't think I would.
No artist, Brandon, has ever said yes. Why did you say no?
I just that to me is music is one of the last places we can use our voice, and I value my voice, and I value things I've been taught and the things that are in the well within, and so for that to be taken, that would be a horrifying world for me, because I feel like that's my gift, is to be the trumpet, to be a beacon, and
Fair enough.
couldn't do
Fair
it
enough.
for
I have to ask you. It's like my thing now, and everybody knows it's coming. You're a good sport. Thank you.
yes, sir.
You're supporting Patriot Fest. How did you get involved with Patriot Fest, and what's all that about? Because it's a good lineup. It's in a great spot, but it's also, I like this idea that there's military veterans, active duty people coming together with a heavy duty lineup to celebrate people who love America and want to support America. So just curious, how do you get involved in something like that?
Honestly, through a friend of mine, he mentioned Patriots Fest, and I was like, well, I'm assuming that's an American like Patriots, and he was like, no, no. He's like, 100% of the net proceeds go to military, and like we got building bigger lineups every show. We're just trying to like stack it up and get the coolest artists who actually believe in God and in family, and support the military, and American patriots and veterans, and that seems to be exactly what I am. So I was like, yeah, count me in 100%. So
So
this will be my first, but I plan on playing every one that they'll get me on.
okay, so I didn't really realize that. So there's been Patriot Fest in the past, and they're gonna keep doing
I
these.
don't. I'm not totally sure. I'm pretty new to the
Yeah.
whole, but I know it had been talked about for a year or so. I'm not sure if they built one yet or not. Let's say I'm not sure if they've done one yet or not, but if not, this is the first of many for sure.
Well, COVID is also just threw things in disarray. You have Three Doors Down, Ted Nugent, Big and Rich, Cowboy Troy, Damon Jones, Reed Fisher, Matt Oakley, Brandon Hart. I'm like, that's Brandon Hart there. I'm talking to the man right now. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So
Play.
do you have any songs that you've released this year, or you're gonna release, you're gonna perform there?
Yeah, I have an EP that I put out. It's almost been 2 years. I started putting some singles out, and I threw a little EP together. And I've really taken the last year or so, just spent some time with family. I work on motorcycles, so I've been building motorcycles, doing my thing, kind of at the same, trying to stay busy in music and build the well up, and building songs up. And so now I've kind of got a group of songs that I think I want to put out now as an album. And so I'm currently working on 3 to 4 of those in Nashville, back and forth, between North Carolina and Nashville with a couple buddies of mine. And so I'm hoping within the next like 2 months at the latest, we should have a new single ready. So I'm gonna be playing at the Patriot Fest. I'll be playing at least 3 to 4 out of the new like 12 to 14 we're putting out. So
Well, that's cool, man. How do you balance? I mean, I love motorcycles. I ride motorcycles. I've been riding motorcycles since I was like 18 years old. So, I mean, it's
so
in my blood. We can talk about we could do a whole podcast, Brand, just on that. But it's kind
oh,
of cool. How do you balance, working on motorcycles and then find the creative spark to write a song?
honestly, it kind of happens hand in hand.
Yeah.
Being out on the road, and being in the studio all the time, it's got its wear and tear on you, mentally and physically. And I think going to building bikes and building cars, and racing a little bit, kind of that lifestyle for me is my release. That's kind of my adrenaline rush, my workout, whatever you want to call it. So honestly, while I'm working on bikes, while I'm welding or while I'm painting or while I'm whatever I'm doing, I feel the most creative then. It's kind of wild how that works, but there's like nothing like the feeling of getting on a motorcycle. It makes you feel like you got wings. And I actually put that in a new song that's coming out, Old Tattoos, which we have we just put the merch out for us. It's actually a skeleton with wings on a motorcycle. It's pretty sweet. So
Dude, I can't wait
that's
to see
kind of,
it.
yeah, that's where I find my freedom, man. So there isn't much having to balance too much. It's like I kind of let the Lord lead me where the road goes, I go. And if I'm not on tour, I'm most likely doing that or building houses. I've framed my whole life. And so those are the kind of things that I was raised on. That's just my go-to. It's my second nature.
I want to get your opinion about a motorcycle topic that is near and dear to my heart if you'll entertain it. Maybe I'm just getting old and a fuddy-duddy, but I'm really like, a buddy of mine showed me his new Indian. I'm like, that's cool, dude. I ride a big Yamaha Stratoliner V-twin, and I love it. But it has like this big, huge infotainment, monitor on the freaking, top of the forks, and everything is run through the infotainment center. And I'm like, what happens if that thing goes black? Well, you can't really start the motorcycle or get it going. I'm like, well,
Yep.
isn't that a problem, dude? What happens is just a clean set of gauges. You got your, speedo, your tack, and your fuel, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
I just don't like this. I'm like, if you're gonna do that, just get a convertible and call it good.
Yeah.
Am I just a cranky old dude, or what do you think about that, Brandon?
I honestly, man, I think you're exactly right. I actually just built a bike that it has what's called a CDI box. And long story short, not to get too deep into it, but it controls the timing, the firing order and stuff. And I, completely rebuilt this bike, stripped it, built a harness, and it was like there was only a couple wires needed to run the bike. With that box, if you take that box out of the equation, you no longer have a motorcycle. And I think a lot of these new ones are doing the same thing, where well, I know they are, but it's fuel injected, but in the same sense, it's got to have that little black box. And I've always been the same way. I like something with a carburetor that you put a key in it, you can crank it. There is no, the motor runs the computers, the electric runs the computer in it. And which is really just a timing thing. It's kind of a physical thing you can see happen. So I'm right behind you on that. I ain't a huge fan of the whole, the tech
No,
and
it's
all
just,
the. I'd like to have some speakers on my bike, but it ain't that important.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you. One thing, just looking at, your background, and I don't know you that well, but one thing that came very clear on your YouTube channel, on, your Facebook, is you seem to have this real aspect where your faith is very central to who you are and what you do. And, some artists, they make that plain as well. Some artists are clearly, hey, that's not part of my gig at all, but it is for you. And I'm just, where did that come from?
And I wish I could tell you. I know being raised in and around the church, my daddy raised a little hell, my mama raised a little hell too. And they both, by the time they had me, it calmed down. And, they taught us a lot about faith, but really just the church, being in and around the church, and seeing the work of God, seeing how he worked on people's lives. And, kind of that somewhat molded me to, I was talking to someone the other day. It's like, I don't really try to put God in everything. He just shows up,
Well,
So
that's
like,
what I mean. That's what I mean. It's,
yeah.
it's not like, you have a sign on you that says, praise Jesus. Nothing wrong with
Mhm.
that. But
Yep.
it's definitely evident, through your songs, listen to a couple of your songs, and I'm like, God is woven, and God's just there.
Yep. Yeah. Whoever he is, wherever he is, he's present, all the time. And it's almost like I can't write a song without the presence of God and the devil. And in some sense, it
Yeah.
might be a few layers deep and embedded in emotion or whatever, I'm speaking about, but it's pretty wild. It always comes back down to those parables, and um, it's just a second nature thing for me. I almost have to, when I'm writing people, I got to kind of like back off a little bit so it doesn't lean into the, Christian music world. But I've learned to let it sprout, man. Let it blossom. And most likely, if something's coming through, then it's coming from the well. It's coming from, the place of faith and of uh, what you call the Holy Spirit.
It just seemed really authentic, like you weren't doing it for any kind of marketing thing or social media thing. It's just like it's like you said, God is just there as you're going through this journey. So I caught it, and I want to talk about it because I feel that a lot of people don't. So it's really cool when you see that happen.
Yeah.
What are you hoping happens out of Patriots Fest? Because you're going to this event with this big lineup. You know, people love Ted Nugent, Matt Pinfield, the whole 9 yards, right? But the
Yep.
money raised here is going for several veterans organizations that are, out there in the world right now doing stuff. As I'm reading off this, is Special
Oh,
Ops
you're good.
Survivors, Task Force Dagger, and America's Future, all like pro-America, pro-military, pro-law enforcement people. Man, what are you hoping happens from your involvement?
Honestly, not to get too spiritual about it, but I hope the Holy Spirit moves on a bunch of American people and makes us realize that we got to take care of what's ours, and we got to look after our veterans. But B, that we're all still one. That there's still something that unifies us, and it's events like the Patriots Fest that serve in doing that. And unifying the American people and reminding them that there's something to fight for. Those colors are worth fighting for. So my biggest hope is that this show and all the ones we do in the future with this will bring a little clarity to. It's kind of a broken apart two-party system that's happening now, where it's like a lot of people have been divided between, if it's not politics, it's race. And that's something where, red, white, and blue has nothing to do with white and black. It's really it's a group of people that believe in a common thing. And as long as we can keep God in that, I feel like, we've got a long life ahead of us here.
Did any of your family, friends, grandparents serve in the military or law
Yeah,
enforcement?
yeah. My father and two of his brothers both served, did their fair share of time. My daddy was a tank commander, and my uncle Jack was actually his name was Uncle Samuel, but he was actually a tank guy too. I think he's an engineer, and so then the other uncle, same thing, was infantry, but a engineer as well and a mechanic. So it
So
definitely runs in the family. I was this close to getting, and it's kind of crazy. Long story short, I ended up messing my knee up in sports, and I was actually racing dirt bikes and messed my knee up pretty bad. And that was right around the time I was going to enlist, and that kind of put a damper on things. And it was wild how music kind of walked in and took the place of that me thirsting for something more. So
that's really interesting, man, because you listen to your music and I'm like, there's a deeper story here. Like it's
so
like that, you go out to the, river and it's just running slowly, but you realize there's a lot of power in that water moving. And so I was
so
very curious to talk with you about that. And as far as tankers go, I met some tankers in the Marine Corps, man. Those guys were nuts. I mean, you got to have something different to ride in that machine,
yep,
hear the bullets hit the armor of it, and realize there's a lot of things out there that can take you out. So much
scary
respect,
business, man.
yeah, very much respect to your dad and your uncle and your other family member who served.
So
As we close this down, you're doing Patriots Fest. You've got your EP coming out. How can people connect with you, Brandon, and keep in contact with what you're doing? Because you're just on the move all the time.
yeah. Yeah, I would man, honestly, through social media is kind of obviously the number one. I'm kind of more fluid on Instagram. I jump on TikTok now and again. I'm really one of those guys who doesn't pull out his phone for much through the day. So I'm not on there a lot, but that's one way. And then, I'm on this tour with Damon Jones for the next month. So I'm actually headed to Columbus right now, Columbus, Ohio, and we're playing a show tonight, and then we move on through Illinois, North Dakota. I think North Dakota out to Oregon, and then kind of take a circle back. So I've put my tour schedule up on my pages, and I'll keep continue to share that. That's the best way to come out and catch a show. Demon is a good friend of mine, and we ended up jumping into a partnership and been working together for like 3 years now. So any tour that he puts up, I normally try to jump on it, get around and see everybody. And it's not like a completely just screams conservative tour, but it is like, we're pro-American. We're not trying to bring the BS along. We got some morals and values that we keep, and you can see it in our fans. There's never fights. There's never, altercation.
You're not throwing some chair from a third-story window.
No, none of that.
All right.
None of that.
All right. Well, I'm in the Northeast, man. I'm in the Boston area, but I will check it out. I just, wishful thinking. It'd be cool to meet up with you and sing how great that art together, man. That was just weird, because that I think it's Amazing Grace and that song there are my two favorite hymns.
That's literally my two favorite too, man.
So good stuff. Good stuff. Well, folks, look, this is a special, break in the countdown to number 400 for Oscar Mike Radio. This is going on May 18th, Patriots Fest. You can see Brandon live playing on the stage. This is all going to great causes that support our military, our veterans, and other Americans. Brandon, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come on and talk with me. Had a blast and hope to meet you one day.
Yep, we will very soon, bro.
All right, safe travels, and Brandon, and I will have links to your social media and Oscar Mike Radio show posts. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, Brandon, we are mission in flight. Thank you.
Remember, Honor teaches our mission. We care about it and we do it every day. But I think there are things that just hit you and give you a reason to go on. The theme for our 2024 from Reach Across America is Live with Purpose. It just seemed to fit in with the vows of the REAP, the 10 attributes that we feel represent our United States military. I thought, what a great opportunity to put those two things together and show our kids through how we act some of the things that can make their lives better, their communities better, and by doing that, the country better. For me, Live with Purpose, I think, it's a mindset. Set some guidelines and then go out and purposefully make life different, make a change. It's an opportunity to set an example.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.